Welcome to Gurukul Lectures. In the ongoing series of Leadership and Team Development, today we will be talking on styles of leadership. Now, leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. The process of encouraging and helping others to work enthusiastically towards the objectives. Now, according to Alan Keith, he stated and quoted that leadership is ultimately about creating a way for people to contribute to making something extraordinary happen. Leadership is a social influence process in which the leader seeks the voluntary participation of the subordinates in an effort to reach the organizational goals. A leader can be defined as a person who delegates or influences others to act so as to carry out the specified objectives. Now, today's organizations need a very effective leadership and who understands the complexities of the rapidly changing global environment. Now, if a task is highly structured and the leader has good relationship with the employees, the effectiveness will be very high on the part of the employees. The leadership styles encompasses how they relate to others within and outside the organization, how they view themselves and their position, and to a large extent whether or not they are successful as leaders. Now, in the global competitive environment, effective leadership style is necessary to reduce the attrition rate, and from the effective leadership styles only it is possible to achieve the organizational goal productivity. Leadership styles affect on an employee performance and productivity because it is the leader who motivates and drives the possible task. An effective leader influences the followers in a desired manner to achieve the desired goals. Different leadership styles may affect the organizational effectiveness or performance. Now, there are some very important definitions of the leadership styles. Let us have a look on that. According to Chung, identified that leadership style can affect the organizational commitment and the work satisfaction positively, and work satisfaction in turn can affect the organizational commitment and the work performance positively. Now, leadership is largely culturally oriented, embracing the traditional beliefs, norms and the values, and a preoccupation. According to Goff Yoon, leadership style is significantly influenced by the leader's immediate and extended family, that is clan and tribe. This study finds the linkages between the organizational leadership and the business ethics, thereby making a contribution towards increasing the quality of the organizational life, which may have a positive influence on both the members of the organization and the wider community. Now, there is another study done by Liu Yen and other authors. He explained that employees' perception about the transactional or transformational leadership styles of the executive both are highly positive correlation with the perceptions about the executive encouragement factors of its innovative climate. Now, there is another definition and a study given by Pottscaff that leadership behavior can affect the trust and the satisfaction of the employees to the organization and organizational citizenship behavior, and further enhances the relationship between the leadership style and the organizational commitment directly. Leadership style is relatively consistent pattern of the behavior that characterizes a leader. Today's organizations need effective leadership who understands the complexities of the rapidly changing global environment. Different leadership styles may affect the organizational effectiveness and the performance. According to Olap Depot, the success or the failure of a proper organizations, nations and other social units has been largely credited to the nature of their leadership style. Now I am going to give you some important points in relation to leadership style. Leadership style is the manner in which the manager exercises their authority in the workplace and ensures that their objectives are achieved. It covers how the managers plan and organize the work in their area of responsibility, and in particular about how they relate to and deal with their colleagues and the team members. The key component of a management and the leadership styles are the attitude and the behavior, and it includes what a manager says, how they say it, and the example they set, their body language, and their general conduct and demeanor. Now, there are some basic models of the management and the leadership styles which we will be talking on now. The first I am going to talk about is the Rennes-Likert. The manner in which the authority was exercised was the subject of early theories regarding the management and the leadership style. Rennes-Likert based his theory on the studies conducted at the University of Michigan in the year 1950. He talked about 4 distinct styles which were very pertinent and important, and we will be discussing this one by one. The first, according to the Rennes-Likert, is about exploitative or authoritative leadership style. The leader has no faith or confidence in his subordinates, controls by imposing the directives, and motivates by intimidation and retribution. The next is your benevolent or authoritative. The leader has a faith in his employees but treats them in a very paternalistic and condescending way. The next is your consultative. That is, the leader expresses the trust and the faith in the subordinates, soliciting their views and suggestions while maintaining the decision-making authority. And the next is your participative. Here the leader has a full faith in his subordinates, seeks and acts on their suggestions, and includes them in the goal setting. According to the Likert research, consultative and participatory management styles, they are more effective, but he failed to consider the extent and the context in which the management was carried out. The second type of the leadership style which I am going to talk about is the Tenem-Sock leadership continuum. The leader continuum of the Tenenbaum-Schmidt, the Robert Tomian and the Warren-Schmidt made an early contribution to the literature on the leadership style in the year 1950. They looked at how much power or the influence a boss has over his or her employees, as well as how much flexibility they have to operate in their own. They introduced a 7-stage leadership continuum that moves from a scenario in which the manager makes all the decisions to one in which the manager allows the team members to take decisions individually within a predetermined limits. Now, tells, persuades, demonstrates, consults, asks, shares and involves are the 7 types of the listed ones. They went on to say that a good manager would be able to assess the team's strength and switch between the points on the continuum as required. As the manager's ability grow, he or she will decide to give more freedom while still maintaining the overall responsibility for the job. In the year 1960, Douglas McGregor argued that a management style was dictated by his or her beliefs about the human nature. He defined two broad set of values which he labeled as theory X and theory Y based on his study. According to theory X, humans have an innate disliking of work and must be regulated and guided in order to achieve the goals, and as a result, autocratic and paternalistic leadership styles emerge. Now, according to theory Y, is a natural part of the life that provides people with a sense of fulfillment, respect and appreciation, will inspire the employees to others and their all. As a result, the management models that are more consultative and participatory, it emerges. Although both type of management could be successful, McGregor argued that theory X management could lead to demotivation and the low levels of performance, while theory Y management could result in high levels of motivation and performance. Now, Robert R. Blake and James S. Morton, they came out with another style of leadership called the management grid. The drivers too, which were highlighted by Robert and Morton while working in 1950 and 1960, concerns for two aspects. One, getting the job done, and the concern for the people involved. These were the two particular drivers which were highlighted by Robert and Morton. They used a 9 by 9 grid to show how an individual management style is influenced by their level of concern for these particular two factors. The first is, this reveals a 5 fundamental management styles: improvised management, no regard for the mission or the participation. This style consists primarily of going through the motions and going just enough to get by. The authority obedience, that is the strong regard for the mission but low concern for the individuals. This is a very commanding style, similar to the conventional command and control strategy, but it has the potential to damage the human relationships. Then the third is all about the country club leadership. It demonstrates a high degree of concern for the individuals but a low level of concern for the mission at hand. This is seen to be an accommodating one, and it can build a warm and welcoming work environment, but at the expense of getting the work done quickly. The next is your team leadership, a strong degree of concern about both the mission and the individuals involved. This is thought to be a most powerful style with the greatest potential for the success. Then the middle of the road management is the modest amount of consideration for the mission and the people involved. This achieves a task performance balance, but it is more likely to maintain the status quo than to achieve the notable success. Now, William B. Redden 3-degree Redden also focused on the concern for the task and concern for the people, which defined task as task oriented, that is TO, and the next is your relationship orientation, that is RO. He introduced the idea that particular styles might be more appropriate in some context than the others. Starting from the 4 basic styles: related high RO, that is relationship orientation; integrated, that is high RO and TO, that is relationship orientation and task orientation. Then we have a dedicated one, that is the low relationship orientation, and separated, that is the low relationship orientation and the task orientation. He added a third dimension depending on how appropriately and therefore efficiently the style was used. We can have a look on this particular slide that is given by the William Redden 3D theory. The first, when we talk about, is a style the second is inappropriately used, and the third is appropriately used. The first is related, that is the missionary developer, and the integrated, that is the compromiser and the executive. Then we have dedicated, that is the autocrat and the benevolent autocrat. The next is your separated, deserter and bureaucrat. Now we are moving on to another style of leadership called a situational leadership. Situational leadership is a flexible management style. This approach allows the leader to assess their teams, consider the many factors at work, and choose the leadership style that best suits their objectives and the circumstances. Now, in the past, a leader was a boss, says the leadership theorist Ken Blank. Today's leaders cannot be led solely on the basis of their positional power. The organizations all over the world are turning to situational leadership to achieve the following goals. People and work group should be created, establish a rapport between their employees and bring out the best in them, use a consistent leadership style across all organizational units, whether local, national or foreign. The leadership is a situational context, is adaptable. It adapts to the current job environment as well as the organizational needs. Situational leadership is not dependent on the leadership ability to perform a particular task. Rather, he or she adapts the management style to meet the needs of the company. Adaptability is one of the most important aspects of the situational leadership. To meet the changing needs of the company and its workers, leaders must be able to switch between the leadership styles. These leaders must be able to recognize when to adjust their management styles and what leadership approach is best for each new paradigm. Now, Daniel Goleman describes one style of situational leadership, while Ken Blank and Paul Herrick described the other. So, I will be explaining them both the aspects. Now, first let us talk about the Goleman situational leadership. The theory of Goleman situational leadership is described by Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence. Pace setting leaders, the leaders who set the pace and hold their followers to a high standard. Coaching leaders, the leaders who focus on an individual personal growth as well as job related skills are known as coaching leaders. This approach works better for the people who are aware of their weaknesses and willingness to adapt. Self-starters. Self-starters are who are highly driven. They are the best candidates for the type. The leader sets an example for others to follow, since it can lead to the follower burnout. This design is used sparingly high. Now we have democratic leaders who give their supporters a way in almost every decision. When used properly, it can also help to develop the community, versatility and accountability. This style, however, takes time and is not recommended if you have a high and tight deadlines. Then we have another type of leadership which was highlighted by Goleman situational leadership, which is called as afflictive leaders. The leaders who prioritize their workers when morale is poor. This style is used. The team morale is boosted by the leader's praise and assistance, and when it comes to a team building, this approach can result in the poor results. Authoritative leaders. The leaders of authority who excel at analyzing the problems and finding the obstacles. This is a suitable style for a company that is drifting aimlessly. Now, the situational leadership, which was highlighted by Goldman, of situational leadership. This kind of a leader may enlist the assistance of his or her followers in resolving an issue. Then we have authoritative leaders, the leaders who use coercive and coercion to tell their subordinates what to do. That is a kind of a physical and a mental force. They have a very good idea of what they want to do and how to get there. This approach works well in the crisis or when a company needs a complete overhauling. Now, second type of situational leadership, which was highlighted by Blanchard and Hersey. The second model is based on this, and their theory is founded on the two aspects: the leadership and the follower developmental stage. The Blanchard and Hersey devised a matrix of 4 different styles. First is a telling leader. The leader should be told that the specific instructions and close the supervision. These people make the decisions and explain them to the rest of the team. They define the responsibilities and goal and expect others to follow them. The majority of communication is one way, and in a disaster or when repeatable results are needed, this style is definitely very, very powerful. The second style, which was highlighted by Blanchard and Hersey, was a selling leader, that is explaining and persuading. These leaders can define the responsibilities and the goals for others, but they are often open to feedback and suggestions. They try to persuade others to work for them by selling their various proposals. Next we have is a situational leadership by Blanchard and Hersey. Allow their followers to make their decisions. Employees have the final say in this, despite their participation in decision-making process. The third is your delegating type, that is allowing others to do it. These leaders are in charge of their teams, but only have a minimal guidance or the assistance in solving the problems. They may be asked to assist in decision-making or the occasions. The situational leadership has the following characteristics. The first is your insight. The situational leaders must be able to recognize the needs of his or her followers and change his or her management style accordingly. Next we have is a flexibility. Situational leaders must be able to move from one leadership style to another with ease. The leader must be able to gain the trust and the confidence of his or her followers. Next is your problem solving. The situational leaders must be able to solve the problems such as how to complete a task using the most effective leadership styles. Next we have is a coach. The situational leader must be able to assess the maturity, integrity of the followers before implementing the appropriate approach to improve the followers' personal character. So these were the factors which were very important to be taken into consideration while taking into consideration the situational leadership. So let us have a small recap on what are the requirements of a situational leadership. That is, he must have an insight. He should be able to recognize the needs, what their followers want, how they want. The kind of inbuilt flexibility should be a part of it. That is, the situational leaders must be able to move from one leadership style to another leadership style with a great ease and followed by a very effective problem solving skills, and it should be very, very effective. And the situational leader must be able to assess the maturity and integrity of the followers and before implementing the appropriate approach to improve the followers' personal character. That is, he should be able to provide a proper coaching.